Hey everyone, I'm here to go over the different states that will pay you to move. So I'm sure any remote workers like myself understand the importance of having a really great environment, a really affordable cost of living, and of course, someplace that kind of inspires you. And that might change from time to time as you progress and as your needs progress, which is why it's important to know which states can help you offset the cost of starting somewhere new. So there are a lot of places that offer compensation if you move there as a remote worker, and they have different requirements. Generally, these programs started around the COVID times, and I'm going to go over some of the best options. So I'm going to start with the Tulsa Remote program. So this program helps people relocate to Tulsa. It's run by the George Kaiser Family Foundation, and you get $10,000 in credit for relocating, but you also get a lot of connection to the local community. You get support. Now that $10,000 doesn't come all at once. So it's not a lump sum to move there. It is spread out in payments over the first year. So you have to live there for at least 1 year, during which time you'll get that money. And they do have some eligibility requirements. You can see here, Oklahoma is one of the few states that requires you live outside of the state for at least 1 year before you can apply. And you have to already have remote employment on a full-time basis. But after that, you submit your application if you get through to the interview section, and then you'll have to make that decision very quickly. They'll usually do a background check and give you the approval with the compensation starting as soon as you move to Tulsa. So as you can see here, if you're renting, you get that $10,000 spread out through monthly disbursements. If you're buying a house, you can get a lump sum after you have purchased a qualifying house, or you can get monthly disbursements to help you cover your mortgage. So that's something to consider. Another option is Alaska. I absolutely love Alaska. It's one of my favorite places. They have what's called the permanent fund dividend. So Alaska is very different from some of the other states that pay you to move there in that they don't give you payment to help compensate you for the cost of moving. Instead, anyone who is a resident of Alaska qualifies for this dividend, which comes from their oil revenue. So it changes every year. As you can see, in 2014, it was $1,702 per resident. And you have to live there for a year to qualify. And after that, you get this every year, as long as you are planning to remain. So MakeMyMove is a company that has partnered with a lot of options in places like Illinois and Indiana. So in Indiana, we have here the Noblesville options for remote work. I'm going to put that right over here. So this is a program through MakeMyMove, and it's designed to attract people to Noblesville in particular. So this is one city that purportedly claims to give you about $15,000 in benefits if you move there, but that is $5,000 for relocation fees, and then another $10,000 in the form of perks. Now, I will say that the perks are pretty outstanding. You get discounts at local restaurants, you get a stipend for health and wellness, you get a golf course pass, an aquatic center pass, a parks pass, 1-year membership to a museum, to the Chamber of Commerce, a chance to meet the mayor, and a lot more. So you get a lot of support, you get community perks, and of course those financial incentives. Now, as I said, MakeMyMove does partner with plenty of organizations in different cities, and another one is here. So in Illinois, you can move with programs that give you nearly $12,000 in coverage. So that starts with $5,000 in cash to cover moving expenses. So unlike other places, you're not going to get that money over the span of 1 year. You're going to get it all at once, and that's going to help you with those initial costs. You also get 1 year of free co-working space if you don't have an office. You get things like 6 months of free internet, 6 months of free YMCA family membership, over $2,500 in gift cards to local businesses, as well as a $500 voucher for local restaurants. And one of the things that I like most is that they give you 6 months of free storage at a self-storage unit. So if you know that one of the contingencies for a move might be taking your time to find the right living space, or you might want to space out how long it takes to unpack everything and really decide where you want your goods to go, this can help you cut down on the cost of a storage unit, especially because a lot of these places require that once you get temporary approval, you move within a certain time frame, like 3 months. So some other options that we have here are the remote shoals. So if you like Alabama, this area might be a great option for you. This is an area that's just called the Shoals, and it's in between these major cities, Memphis, Nashville, Atlanta, and Birmingham. And their program is special because they don't require you to move to a specific city, unlike Indiana or Illinois. So you just have to move to this area, kind of like moving to a county. It has very affordable housing. And one of the things that they offer is a $10,000 grant to move. So you can put that $10,000 toward whatever you need. And they also give you a lot of support when it comes to getting to know the community, getting to know the nightlife and the activities that they have in this area. So that's definitely something to consider. A similar option for remote work, though much more similar to Indiana and Illinois, is moving to Kentucky. So if you like the bluegrass state, Kentucky will give you up to $2,500 for moving expenses. Now, they don't give this to you up front. They give it to you after the fact, but you get reimbursed for things like your initial deposit or down payment, the cost of moving trucks or trailers, hiring movers, or even packing materials. They also give you things like a quality of life package, as you can see here. So that's a little under $1,200 worth of benefits. You don't have to pay the city payroll tax for the first year you are there, and you get up to $70 per month reimbursement for internet. So with this, you do have slightly more stringent requirements, and that's being 21 or older, whereas other programs require 18 or older. But one thing I like is that you have to live at least 100 miles outside of the city limits to apply, as opposed to the Tulsa program where you have to live outside the state. Another option for remote work is relocating to Minnesota. So if you want something a little bit colder and a little bit more wild, Minnesota likewise will give you $2,500 for qualifying moving expenses. And then you get a 6-month compensation for your internet, as well as a 1-year membership for a co-working space, free access to a community program, as well as teleworking support, and 1-year access to the Chamber of Commerce. However, part of this program requirement is that if you are approved, you have to take advantage of those things. So it says here, for example, that you get 6 months of internet service through Paul Bunyan Communications, and that's for free. However, you do have to sign up for a 1-year contract, and that is a stipulation of them paying you to move to that state. So obviously you would pay the second half of the first year. So Topeka is another option. You can move to Kansas, and Topeka will give you a lot of support with a $15,000 incentive to move there. So Topeka has really grown in the last few years, and they are trying to attract a lot of people. They have some of the cheapest cost of living and cost of homes, with a single family home averaging around $125,000, which is about $75,000 cheaper than Alabama, and makes it a much more appealing place for people who want something simple, who want cheap cost of living with good neighborhoods and a lot of interesting cultural development, community options, and activities. So if Kansas is not really your style, some of the other options that you can consider include West Virginia. So West Virginia has what's called their Ascend program. And West Virginia is definitely like Alaska in that it's there for people who love being outdoors. So the West Virginia program gives you $12,000 in relocation funds. So this is the highest money you will find in terms of covering your moving costs. And while they don't give you a lot of gift cards or free co-working space, they do give you free outdoor recreation. So you get things like free outdoor gear rentals, and you can apply and move to one of 5 different cities. So that, much like Alabama, gives you a lot more flexibility. You don't have to move to just one city. Instead, you get free co-working space and free outdoor recreation, as well as $12,000 to move. And that gives you a lot of options in terms of covering your moving costs compared to any of the other states that you have. So really, it comes down to the things that stand out to you. You know, are you someone who wants the highest amount of relocation, or who loves outdoor activities as part of that? Or do you prefer having a lot of flexibility in terms of where you can live, or a lot of extra support and incentives? So each of these places have something to offer, whether it's Alabama or Alaska or Oklahoma. But no matter which one you choose, they will pay you to work there. So obviously, with each of these, you have different compensation levels based on the state you're choosing. And that's why it's so important to use a moving calculator, so that you know about how much it's going to cost you to move to one of these states. And maybe you'll find out that the amount the state is paying or the compensation they provide is adequate, but maybe it might give you a better idea of which states could be more favorable. My personal favorite is MoveBuddha. I absolutely love that you can plan your costs and find movers. So all of those states that offer compensation after your move up to a certain dollar amount might cover things like boxes, or the cost of renting a moving truck, or the cost of hiring movers altogether. And here you can check all of these things using a moving cost calculator. So let's say you're moving from Charlotte to Oregon City. Let's switch those. You are moving from Charlotte to Tulsa, taking advantage of that program. And right now you have a 1-bedroom, and you're planning on moving in August, assuming they give you approval. So here you can see what it's going to cost for freight versus containers versus a professional mover who will handle everything from start to finish. You can see all the different prices, which I personally prefer, because you can check, how much it's going to cost where you are packing things yourself versus letting someone else pack it. And then you can decide whether it's worth it, especially when so many states have those really strict time limits on how quickly you have to move once you've been given approval. You can also check on the cost of freight, the cost of individual boxes. You can see how many boxes you might need based on your moving resources, and that can be incredibly useful.